You know, every successful company has a secret weapon, something that helps align the entire organization. Well, it's called Sales and Operations Planning, or S&OP for short, and that's the business game plan we're going to break down today.
So, let's start with a classic business problem. Picture this. Your sales team is on fire. They're totally ready to sell 1 million units of your product. But then you talk to your factory, and they can only produce 500,000. It's that classic tug-of-war, right? So how do you get these two really important teams to stop pulling against each other and start pulling in the same direction?
Well, S&OP is the answer. Think of it as the bridge that connects what you want to sell with what you can actually make. It's a structured process that happens every single month, and it basically forces everyone to get on the same page and agree on one set of numbers and one single unified goal.
Okay, so who's involved in this? Well, this isn't something that just one department does alone in a dark room. Good S&OP is a real team sport. It takes key players from all across the business. Let's meet the starting lineup. First up, you've got the demand planner. I like to think of them as the company's fortune teller. They're the ones looking into the crystal ball, which is really just a ton of historical sales data, market trends, and upcoming promotions, to create a solid forecast of what customers are actually going to buy.
Then you have the operations leader. This person is the realist in the room. They take that demand forecast and they turn it into a concrete supply plan. They have to answer that one critical question. Okay, can we actually make all of this?
And finally, you have the ultimate decision maker, executive management. We're talking about the CEO or another senior leader. They don't just rubber stamp the plan. Oh no, they make the really tough, high-level decisions and give that final sign-off that gets the entire company moving in one direction.
Now, to keep this whole team on the same page, they follow a really structured 6-step cycle every single month. Let's walk through how that works.
This cycle has a really clear rhythm. First, you start with a product review, just to look back at past performance. Next comes the demand review, where the team agrees on the forecast. After that is the supply review, to make sure manufacturing can actually meet that demand. Then, the finance review translates the whole plan into dollars and cents. And all of that builds up to a pre-S&OP meeting. Think of it as a dress rehearsal before the grand finale, the executive S&OP meeting, where the plan gets the official green light.
You know, if there is one thing to take away from this whole process, it's this. Collaboration between different departments is absolutely non-negotiable. S&OP forces a conversation that grounds that perfect sales forecast in the hard reality of what the company can actually deliver.
So, after all these meetings, all this data crunching, all this planning, what's the big payoff? I mean, why does all of this matter so much?
The goal, the big prize, is creating a single, unified plan. It's one playbook for the entire company. It makes sure that everyone, from sales and marketing to operations and finance, is reading from the very same page. And that kind of alignment is what really drives powerful, efficient growth.
See, when you do S&OP right, you avoid those costly mistakes, like running out of stock or having way too much sitting in a warehouse. It gives leadership a really clear, big-picture view of the business, which lets them steer the ship with confidence. So that brings us to a final thought for you. Now that you get the framework, how could a process like S&OP change the way you approach your own team projects?